Welcome back to Book Break. I'm going to take you on a trip today. So I've been reading a lot of books recently all about the sea, all of its beauties, its romance, its mysteries. So I thought where better to tell you about these books but by the actual sea. So come along with me, we're going to catch a train to the beautiful beaches of Southend. I can hear gulls. This is a good sign. I'm off to find the sea. At the risk of sounding a little too cliche, oh, I do love to be beside the sea. And here I am on the beach. I've got fish and chips specially to mark the occasion. I've switched over to this mic, which I'm hoping will mean that the general squawking of gulls and crashing of waves won't be too loud and disruptive, but it is a pretty nice noise. Also, I've noticed the tide seems to be coming in pretty fast, so stick around to see if I actually get stranded here on this rock. The first book I want to show you is this one, Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield. I actually have my proof copy here. I was a keen bean in reading this one, so I'll put up the finished cover here. This book is so weird and magical and haunting and mesmerizing, just to use a few adjectives. It's about a married couple called Leah and Miri, and Leah goes on this deep sea mission and something goes wrong. It's really mysterious. We don't know what happened. She is gone for months. Miri is just waiting for her at home. And the book starts when she has finally come back from this mysterious mission, but she hasn't come back the same. She's barely able to speak. She is seeping water from her skin. She spends hours locking herself in the bathroom, running the taps. She seems to be no longer entirely human. And the story is told through parallel timelines. We get this present day when something has happened to Leah, and then we also flash back and we follow Leah down on this mission and learn a little bit about what actually happened to her under the sea. It's a very strange, borderline horror novel. I absolutely loved it. I really loved learning about Leah and Miri's relationship in the past, and then you really mourn Leah along with Miri, because while she's back, she's not really back. Can you ever really come back from the depths of the sea? The Mermaid of Black Conch by Monique Roffey is set in a tiny Caribbean village in the 1970s when a fisherman accidentally snares a centuries-old mermaid. She was cursed to live as a mermaid by women who were jealous of her beauty. She is then captured by American tourists, and the story becomes this bittersweet love story, and it won the Costa Book Award in 2020. From the Wreck by Jane Rawson is a really strange sci-fi story. So in 1859, a man called George is rescued from the wreck of a steamship with this half memory of someone else or something else that had been in the water with him. From then on, even as he adapts back to life on land, he can't shake the feeling that this creature is watching him and pulling him back to the water. Hey buddy. I've just received a visitor who's after my fish and chips. Minor interruption there with this very sweet dog. Tried to eat my fish and chips and then knocked the camera over, but we're back in now. So the next book I want to tell you about is The Deep by Rivers Solomon. And this novella is actually adapted from a song by Daveed Diggs's rap group. The song, which was also called The Deep, was then nominated for a Hugo Award, and then this book was adapted from it. So it's a really cool origin story. So the mermaids in this book are descendants of African slave women who were thrown overboard by slave owners, and they've now formed this community under the sea and are living these idyllic lives. Their pasts are so traumatic that they have all been forgotten except by one mermaid who is given the task of being the historian, and she has to carry all of their collective memories, which is tearing her apart. And the story then becomes about this community reclaiming their memories in order to discover their identities and shape their future. The Lamplighters by Emma Stonex is based on a true mystery. It's a really, really strange story about three men who went missing without a trace from a lighthouse. And so Emma Stonex has taken this story and written her own version of it, set in Cornwall in the 70s. And the strangest thing about this lighthouse is it is a remote lighthouse in the middle of the sea, miles from shore. There is no way in or out of this lighthouse. And yet somehow these three men have vanished without trace, with all of the doors still locked from the inside. So the book explores this mystery, and it also jumps back and forth between the men in the lighthouse and then 20 years later, the women left behind, still trying to uncover what might have happened. Next up, I've got Moonlight and the Pearler's Daughter. This is another proof copy here. I'll put up the finished cover, but look how shiny this is. So this is historical fiction set in Australia in the late 19th century. The Brightwell family have sailed from England to make their new home in Western Australia and to make their fortune in the pearl industry. But 10 years after their arrival, Charles Brightwell goes missing while out at sea, and so it's up to his daughter Eliza to solve the mystery of his disappearance. There's a really loud plane flying over me, which gives me a perfect excuse to pause and eat some more fish and chips. Deep Light by Frances Hardinge is set in a world where now long-dead gods once ruled, and two teenage best friends, Hark and Jelt, make their living by diving into the sea and searching for relics of the gods that they can sell. But they get more than they bargained for when they find something extremely valuable and extremely dangerous. And this is classic Frances Hardinge in all of her wonderful weirdness. A Song Below Water by Bethany Seymour is about Tavia and Effie, who are two of the few black girls at their school in Oregon, and they're also both hiding magical secrets. Tavia is a siren, a creature that is forbidden in their society, and so in order to stay safe, she must keep her identity a secret. But in the aftermath of a siren murder trial, their community is torn apart. And this is a fantasy book that uses magic to explore the experience of being black in America. And finally, let's finish off with some classics, because there have been stories about the mysteries of the sea for as long as there have been stories. Moby Dick by Herman Melville is about a sea captain obsessively pursuing a giant whale. The Rime of the Ancient Mariner by Samuel Taylor Coleridge is a long poem about a man who has returned from a long sea voyage, and he begins to narrate his story to a listener who becomes increasingly afraid. And you may know the famous line, "Water, water everywhere, not a drop to drink." 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea by Jules Verne is a sci-fi adventure story about three people who set out to kill a sea monster, but all is not as it seems. And my final one is The Little Mermaid by Hans Christian Andersen. His original version is a lot darker than the Disney movie that a lot of us might be more familiar with. Things don't end so well for The Little Mermaid in his version. On that note, I will link here to a video we made a few years ago here on Book Break all about mermaids and why they have enchanted readers for so long in so many different forms. So do click through and watch that one. Meanwhile, I'm going to sit here and finish my fish and chips on the beach. See you next time.